Welcome back, guys. It's Colin with us on Pirates TCG, and we are back with part 3 of our reviews of GD02 Dual Impact. So this time, let's talk about Red. So going into it, again, these are just my first impressions of the general archetypes and strategies. We're not going over every single card, but we're going over the ones that I think are most notable. But definitely do let me know in the comments if I missed anything super significant. But yeah, just going right into it. We'll start off by talking about the new stuff for G-Quux, aka Clan. So we'll have the Red LR, the G-Quux Omega Tech Commute, the level 7 5 cost, same stats as something like the Freedom or the Justice. It is only a 5-4 though, as opposed to being like a 5-5 or a 4-6. But on deploy, you look at the top 3 of your deck, and you get to, for free, play a clan unit that's level 4 or lower from among them. And of course, it links with Machu. So, despite being 1 point lower in stats for other level 7s, it does come with a free body, so I guess that is like the extra stats that you're supposed to get. Like the other clan cards, you are required to play a good amount of them, so you can make sure you don't whiff on this ability, because if you whiff, it's going to be really bad. It's very similar to something like the dual Gundam Assault Shroud from set 1. However, this one does not require you to actually have the pilot to trigger that ability. It just comes in on play, which is nice. And with the Machu, you can potentially draw an additional card. So making this link pair can accumulate you 2 additional cards potentially, assuming you don't whiff on either ability, which again, like I said, you're going to have to play a lot of clan cards to make sure that doesn't happen. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty decent. Level 7 though, I will admit, like many other LRs in this set, is very late to come down. I'm a bit worried on how well it would do against like an aggro strategy, just because like you're gonna have to wait a long time before you can get this on board. But in a more mid-rangey to grindier matchup, I think this thing's like pretty decent. Just like the free value it gets you is probably enough to do what you need to do in those kind of matchups. But otherwise, yeah, we'll see. It's a good top end, but otherwise you might not be playing 4 of it just because of, like I said, how expensive it is to get on the table. And then going on to another clan card, we do have Sugai's Gogoog from G-Quux. It links with Shuko Sugai, which I'll pull up on the screen here. It's not super impressive, it's just another command hybrid. But the Gogoog itself, it's a 3-3 at level 4, 4 cost. So again, like a little bit overcosted for what it is. But on deploy, you can choose something that's level 5 or higher and deal 2 damage to it. Notably, you can also play this for free off of the G-Quux that we just showed on screen. So that's pretty cool too. Dealing 2 damage to any level 5 or higher is kind of similar to something like the Aegis, but it's just straight up on deploy. You don't have to like pair it, you don't have to get it up to a certain power threshold. It just straight up does what it does. So that's nice as well. But of course, playing it on curve, just like naturally at your level 4 turn, is going to be awkward because it's not super likely that your opponent's going to have a target for it. So it might be a piece that you have to play just to keep up your count for your clan cards in your deck, but otherwise it is a nice piece that you can potentially bring out for free off of your level 7 G-Quux. But I don't know that I would really play 4 of it either. And then in the archetype, we also get another command as a level 3 1 cost. That one looks a lot stronger. Just activate main, choose 1 friendly clan unit. During the turn, it may choose an active enemy unit that's level 4 or lower as its attack target. So it's kind of nice to equip it onto something like your level 5 G-Quux from the starter deck, or the level 4 Red Gundam from the starter deck, to let it hunt down something weak, and then you can like pull off a breach, or you can do the first strike off of the starter deck G-Quux, right? So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like the other cards we've talked about from the starter deck. There's another card that does something similar to this. I'm not sure if it's worth it just straight up as a command, like a one-time usage kind of card. And not only that, but it doesn't actually have the clan typing itself because it's just a command. So I'm not sure if this one would actually make it into the G-Quux deck. However, we do also have a new base which does have the clan typing, so you can potentially fetch it off of Machu. It's Shuji's Hideout. It's a 5 health base at level 3 1 cost. So it's nice and cheap, and on destruction, you can choose an enemy unit that's level 4 lower, deal 1 damage to it. So very similar to like the Rolula, which says on play you deal a damage, but this one is on destruction. But it doesn't have a power requirement, it's based on level as well. But again, the fact that it's a clan typing does give it some points for the G-Quux deck if you're trying to build around that. So I definitely don't hate this one either. And then while we're on the topic of G-Quux, we do have a couple new Earth Federation cards. I don't think any of them are super impressive, but just to show them off, we do have Sayla's Light Type Gun Cannon. On deploy, you choose an enemy unit token, deal 2 damage to it. A little bit situational, but 2 damage is a lot at level 4, so if your opponent's playing with like Sharzaku tokens or Striker Pack tokens, for example, this could be relevant, but I'm not totally sure. It does link with Sayla Mass, which again is a little bit awkward since Sayla's ability only interacts with blue units, and this is a red unit, so not only are you forced to play blue-red, but you're also forced to like make your pilot not do anything, aside from just being the link pair, right? So I don't know about this one. We also have a couple of other vanilla Earth Federations, just like a level 2 2-3 and a level 2 3-2. Again, nothing super special, but the Earth Federation typing can come up for things like Jegan if you want to play in blue-red, so there's that. And then moving on to the opposite faction, we do have a lot of new Neo Zeon cards. So we'll start off with the LR, the Cubile. This is also a level 7 5 cost, a 5/5 in stats, so on par with all the level 7s. When linked, it has suppression, which is cool. And then during pair with a Neo Zeon pilot on attack, you can choose one damaged enemy unit and deal 2 more damage to it, so kind of like battle evases. And then it links with Haman Karn, which that does come into play with the rest of its abilities, since Haman is a level 5 1 cost pilot +2/+1. And when paired, if the unit is red, you choose an enemy unit that's level equal or lower than whatever you paired with, and you get to deal 1 damage to it, which can immediately turn on your Cubilate's other ability to deal the additional 2 damage on attack, right? So this link pair becomes a 7/6 with suppression the turn that you link it, as well as being able to effectively deal 3 damage to anything you want, which is nice. You can get a cheap blocker out of the way, so you can make sure that suppression goes through, or you can like deal 1 damage to one guy and then deal 2 damage to like something else that was already damaged from a previous interaction, so there's some flexibility there. It's kind of like the Kshatriya in that sense, but it's just bigger, and obviously the suppression makes it so that you don't have to like hit your opponent that many times to kill them. Like I said with the G-Quokes, the Cubilate is pretty expensive though at level 7, so against more aggressive strategies, I don't know if this is going to come down early enough to make the difference. However, I think Haman, the pilot, is really good. Yeah, she's a level 5 pilot, so you have to wait a turn later than other level 4 pilots like Amuro and Merida, for example. However, on the topic of Merida, Haman is also a new type, so you can put her on the Kshatriya, and the Kshatriya will trigger its ability, so you actually get effectively the same result as Merida, where you get to do like 2 damage spread and then 1 additional damage on pair. So that's pretty cool. It's effectively as if you can have like 8 link pairs with your Kshatriya now. And the Haman can also still trigger when she's paired onto other red units that you might play in your blue-red deck. So that's pretty cool. I think there's quite a few applications that you can make with Haman. And maybe you would even still play like a couple copies of the Cubilate as like a finisher in the late game. But we'll definitely see. I'm pretty excited to try this one out. And then there's another unit that links specifically with Haman. It's her Gaza C. It's when paired, choose one enemy unit that's level 3 or lower, deal a damage to it. So you put Haman on. Again, you have to be at level 5 if you want to create that link pair. But you can do 2 damage spread across 2 level 3 or lowers, I suppose. And it's a 2/3 at level 3, so it's fine, stat-wise. And then I think the last Neo Zeon unit that I want to talk about for now is the Zaku 3 Sleeves. It's a level 3 2 cost, 4/1 in stats, so as opposed to the Rizel, it's 2 less HP. But it does link with any Neo Zeon trait, so Merida Cruz, Full Frontal, or the new Haman Karn, which is nice. I will say in a vacuum though, that 4/1 in stats is really squishy, as opposed to like the Rizel or the Hyakuen just being vanillas. Even though they don't link, they just have that reliable body already. 1 health is just so, it's just so risky, right? Like if you're up against another red deck that can ping it, or if you're up against blue, you turn it sideways once, and then they might play like a gun tank to shoot it off. So I don't know about this one. It doesn't link with any Neo Zeon though, like I said, so that's pretty flexible. You can probably get some free kills out of nowhere with it. But if I really wanted a level 3 linker like that, I don't know if I would rather play something like the Gyaradoga from the starter deck. And then we do have a command that kind of follows along with the theme of the Cubilate and Haman, even though it's not really restricted to Neo Zeon. We have the all range attack. It's a level 4 2 cost command. On burst, you get to deal 1 damage to anything you want. And then his main phase effect is that you just straight up deal 1 damage to all enemy units other than Link units. This one's interesting. Like, the magical Christmas land is that you're up against a weenie deck, and then at level 4 you play 2 of them and just like wipe your opponent's board, right? If everything's 2 health. I don't know how realistic that would be, honestly. In other cases, you could probably like play it to set up with like more wipes with your Kshatriya, or maybe in blue-red you can also combo it with your body pingers like Gun Tank and Aksha. So there might be a few applications with this. I want to try it out. So by itself it doesn't seem super impressive, because just like 1 damage across the board you might not kill anything with it, but like I said, if you can combo it with other things, there might be an argument, or if you can just play 2 or even 3 together to wipe your opponent's board. Again, it's just a consistency thing. I don't know if it's super worth playing, but I think some people are going to try it out, so we'll definitely see. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong. This card actually could be cracked. And then moving on, we do have a 3rd main archetype in this color, along with a 3rd LR. It's the new UNE from Gundam X. I didn't actually watch Gundam X, so I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. But yeah, starting off with the LR for it, we have the Gundam Versago. So it's a level 5 4 cost, 4/4 in stats, so pretty much same stat line as like the L Strike, right? It comes with Breach 1, naturally. And then on deploy, if there are 3 or less enemy shields, you choose 1 enemy unit with 5 or less AP and deal 2 damage to it. I quite like this one, actually. So it links with Shagia Frost, which I'll pull up on the screen here. But yeah, Breach 1 and the on deploy, neither of those things require you to have a pilot on it, which is something that I'm pretty partial to in this game, just so, you know, the card is good out of the box, you don't have to draw the pilot with it. But Shagia Frost is actually pretty solid too. It's a level 4 pilot, +1/+2 in stats, but during Link on attack, you choose one of your new UNE units, and it gets AP +2 during this turn. So of course you can choose the Versago itself, since it's part of the archetype, and it would become a 7/6 monster with Breach 1, which is nice. So with that stat line, you can attack and trait into most things. You can even live through a Wing 0, since Wing 0 is only a 5/7 and you have 6 health. So this thing traits into a lot of things and actually survives quite a few combats potentially. And that on deploy is really good. Like, I'm just thinking you probably want to be playing it in a low to the ground aggro deck, so you can get them down to 3 or less shields, so you can, you know, get that ability to trigger, because the 2 damage is definitely nothing to scoff at. You can pick off like one of your opponent's small units. You can even potentially pick out a blocker like a Zowart or a 4/2 Striker Pack token. So there's definitely quite a few applications for this. Level 5 is also like a nice sweet spot. It's a nice top end for your aggro deck. It's not way too expensive like the G-Quux or the Q-Blade being at level 7. You know, it comes down pretty much the same turn as a Kshatriya, and Kshatriya is like a great card, right? I think the Versago is pretty good. This is one of those kind of units where it's not overly flashy, but the effects that it has are fairly efficient, and again, like I said before in the beginning, it's just good out of the box. You don't actually need the Shagia Frost to make the Link pair, whereas like something like Kshatriya, you do need the Merida to make it go off, right? So the Versago is just good, like just playing him down right out the box. But then moving on to the rest of the archetype, we have 2 versions of the Gundam Astron. We'll show the level 4 one first. It's a support 2, which isn't really that crazy since support hasn't really been seeing that much play lately. But on deploy, you can choose one of your other new UNE units, and it cannot receive battle damage from enemies with 2 or less HP for the turn. So for example, you can target your Gundam Versago and let it run into like a weenie and get that breach in for free, pretty much. It's a 3/3 in stats, so it's kind of whatever, but again, it doesn't link with any new UNE, so you can put Shagia on it, and then it becomes a natural 4/5, but it actually becomes a 6/5 when it attacks, which is nice. And then there's also the Gundam Astron MA mode. So this one says on deploy, choose one of your new UNE units. It gains high maneuver for the turn. Level 3 2 cost 3/2, links with Ulba Frost. It's actually pretty much the same card as the G Fighter in blue for Earth Federation, right? But this one only specifically links with Ulba, which I'll pull Ulba up on the screen here. He's a level 3 pilot, +1/+1. During your turn, when this unit destroys an enemy unit, paired with a new type pilot with battle damage, draw a card. Very, very reminiscent of Izak from Seed in set 1, right? But this one just like requires you to hit into a new type unit, which there's a lot of new types in the game at the moment, even including the ones from Gundam X as well. So there's definitely an argument for this one. Though admittedly, if Izak didn't see much play, I'm not sure if this one would either. but the Astrons themselves look fine, especially the level 3 one. I think that one's actually pretty solid. And then we move on to a couple of low drops in new UNE. We have a couple of level 2s here for the Datrus command and Datrus weapon. So the command says on destruction, if you have another new UNE in play, deploy a rested Datrus token, which is just 0 power, 1 HP. And the Datrus weapon says on deploy, if you have another UNE, you make the same token. So these are interesting. The 0-1 token obviously doesn't seem like very much, but then I think the intent was to combo it with other support units such as like the Gundam Astron that we showed earlier, as well as other methods like just putting a pilot on it, playing other smaller support units, like there's also a 1-1 Datrus at level 1 for example, or maybe even doing other wacky things like playing Citizens Take a Stand to buff it if you really want to. Admittedly, I'm probably grasping at straws here, but that's probably where they want you to go. Like I said before, I don't know if this is quite consistent enough at the moment. There's not that many new UNE units that you can play cheaply otherwise. There's no like vanilla level 1-1-2 or a level 2-2-2 at the moment, so these cards pretty much only trigger from each other. Pretty much everything I showed on the screen up to this point is actually all the new UNEs that we have at the moment. As an archetype, I'm not sure if this one's really like quite developed enough to be worth building around, but like I said, I think the Versago in of itself is pretty good because again, it doesn't really require any of it to be together. It just requires itself, and if you really want to, you play the Shaggy Frost as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the red cards that I want to go over for today. Again, the big standout cards that I would take away from this is the Gundam Versago and Haman Karn as a pilot. Again, the two level 7 LRs are just so expensive to bring out, in my opinion, especially if we're going to continue to be in an aggro-focused metagame. Again, I could be wrong, especially down the line if we get into more grindier matchups. These guys could shine, so definitely take what I say with a grain of salt for the time being. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on Red for today. Thank you very much for watching as always. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.